Now, these are 5 useless businesses. Before you commit your money into them, be very cautious, keen, and careful, because otherwise you can lose your money. You know what? I promised you that on this channel, I'm going to be trying the best that I can to share with you some of the best ideas where we can be able to invest. And remember one thing, I'm not a monopoly of all the ideas. That's why I always insist, put your comment on the comment section. Let's discuss. Let's put it as an open discussion. All right. And the point is this. By the way, if you're watching me for the first time, go ahead and hit that subscription button. It does not cost you anything, so that you'll be notified whenever I upload a new good video, and go ahead and like the video so you become a big family members. All right, let's get into the business. But before I say anything on this video, one thing I'll let you know is that some of people have succeeded in these businesses. Some of them have totally failed. By the way, should I say like majority of them? Be very cautious before you start them. Now, the business number 1, and by the way, you might be shocked if I introduce this business to you. The most useless and the most business I tell you, never ever start. You have to be very keen and cautious before you start it. There's something called, and by the way, for your information, the business number 5 is the worst of all the businesses. That's what I've reserved for the last one, because it's actually the worst. Now, the first one is what we call the traditional photography. Okay, do you know what the traditional photography means? For example, Kenyans can relate. Have you ever gone to any museum of any given country, and then you meet a certain guys there? In Kenya, we call them the wazes, or kind of old people. They don't adjust. They don't move with the system. They don't move with the technology. They just have the traditional cameras, and then with I don't know how I can even say that. Like clothing there, like a bluish in color, whatever they think it is, and maybe some funny pictures, and then they take you there. They just do it in a very traditional way, the way things used to be done out there. For example, if you come to Nairobi, that is in Kenya, and you walk the street of let's say the city hall, there is a big building there called the KICC area, where you get some guys who stand there. They are old people. They just take the photos in an old traditional way. And then along that street, there are very young guys, the Generation Z. They just have the, those big, what do you call them? The Goldox things, the lighting system. They just do the things in a very modern way. And I'm like, do these guys know that the way they are doing the pictures or the way they are doing the photography, we are actually out of that era. Now this is the real era. Because on a very serious note, if you frequent maybe your cities, in Nairobi, there are very many young guys who are doing nice photography on the streets and what have you. But these guys, they're just clinging to their old traditional way of doing the business. You be out there. You don't open, for example, I would say, in short, I would say photo studios, like opening a photo studio. I mean, this is outdated. This is outdated. Starting a photo studio. You don't still sit there and wait people to come and do the photo shoot and what have you. You meet the clients, you meet the clientele out there. All right. For example, let's say somebody's on a hurry and you just want to take a very nice photo out there and very nice, elegant. Personally, I'm a fan of taking those photos. Yeah, so you find like, I don't even have a time to go. I don't know, floor number 8, room number 71. I don't know what. I don't have that time. I just on the street walking randomly. I take a photo, done. I'm done. And that photo is sent to me immediately to my phone. And like, don't run that photography business in a traditional way. Before you even think about getting yourself a photo studio, go out there, buy those lighting, buy those good cameras, and then you go start and do your business from outside there. The moment now you create a good, what we call the clientele, or build a good customer base and what have you, now you can think of having now a place where you can say, hey, this is where I do my things and what have you. So be very keen and cautious before you start this photo, because I mean, seriously, photography, I don't think it's kind of cheaper business to start. You need a good camera. A good camera would go for a couple of thousands of dollars sometimes, and again, you need like for lighting. Again, that's like another $1,000 and what have you. The skills itself and what. So be very cautious. Okay, go to point number 2, or the business number 2, that is way, you should not even start it. Okay, the other one is something that we call movie shop. Movie shop. For those who know movie shop in Kenya, they know what I'm talking about. This thing is outdated. On a very serious note, it is outdated. You know why? Movie shop, this is a place where we go and buy, movies, you go with a CD. I don't know, we call the burning the CD, or they put in a flash disk and whatever. It is, we can say they are still on their last, kicks of the dying donkey. The business is actually getting phased out. Why? It's being phased out by things like Netflix, Showmax, and other wonderful streaming areas where you can be able to stream all those. Some people even have their internet nowadays in their homes, most of them. So you find people can actually even stream the videos from the movies from their home and what have you, provided they subscribe to those areas. Like, unless you open a movie shop, but not entirely just about movie. Maybe you can combine it with cyber services. You can combine, maybe say, with some a little bit of photography, as much as I've denied it on the top there. You don't know why I'm saying so, because you can combine that. Maybe you can do what we call the services. You know, in Kenya we have a lot of services like KRA pin filling. You can have like things to do with photocopying, you know, typewriting, bulk pro printing, and all those kind of things. So if you incorporate, but if you just open a movie shop and then you think like it's gonna work, I'm telling you it's gonna. Back then, it used to be an amazing business. Back then, it used to actually work better because people were actually moving out from, we used to call them the cassettes. The Gen Z may not even relate to what I'm talking about. Back then, we used to have the cassettes, yeah? Then we moved out from the cassettes, we went to the CD, the compact disc. Now we are out of the compact disc, we have the flash disc. Now people are getting out of that, they are going to different, like, you move with the tradition. I mean, you move with the technology as the things are moving, so that at least you don't be left behind. Because if you get left behind, then you become faced off and people forget about it. So you have to keep up at all the time, but just at all the time, at all the time. If you have a movie shop, I'm not telling you you should close. If you had an idea of opening a movie shop, I'm not telling you you shouldn't, but be very careful before you open that specific thing. Ask, who are your target customers? What do you want to do with them? What do they do exactly? Are you targeting people who already have internet at their home because they can actually access these movies from their comfortable them? Nowadays, we have a lot of websites. You can even go and watch your movies there and just relax without even paying nothing, only maybe subscription from that website. And I mean, just do something before you commit this cash out there, okay? Maybe you can combine this movie shop with gaming. Gaming is great. You can do the PS4, PS5, whatever the thing, Xbox, whatever. So you can combine like multiple things at the same location, so that at least the movie shop brings you some a little bit, the photography bring you some a little bit, the gaming bring you some a little bit, the photocopy, whatever. So the cyber services. So when you combine all that basket, at least you can get something here, something there, something here. So once you sum up it up, at least it's something we can say it is tangible on that business. And you know what? The other business that is very worst to start is what we call luxury jewelry, and also fashion, expensive and what have you. Let's say you're an enthusiast, you love fashion, you love all those kind of things, and you love to start them, and you're so much into it. There's nothing wrong with it, but the point is this: before you actually go to the luxury point of it, first of all, build the customer base. You know what, before they actually reached, for example, if you go search like the biggest company that usually sell the luxury, that is not where they started. I know there is a target customer that you're having. First of all, this is an investment that needs, it's a capital intensive. That's one thing that you're supposed to know. It's a capital intensive. Capital intensive means that it requires a lot of money for you to come up with this business. Number two, obviously they are targeted people, and obviously the targeted people here, guess what happens? They are the fewest, like in terms of, okay, already this is a market segmentation. There is something called market segmentation. Market segmentation is when you sort of segment, is when you subdivide the market. You say, guess what, it's like opening a market, it's like opening a business and say, hey, in my business I'm targeting Indians who are pregnant. Can you just imagine that? Like you've targeted like subsection of people, like you get what I'm saying? Like it's like, hey, I'm opening a business and I'm targeting A, B, C, D people. So you don't do what we call market segmentation. But there is nothing wrong. It can actually work. For example, there are people who sell yachts. Is it yacht or whatever, private jet and what have you? That is a very, very market that is actually highly segmented to people who are high net worth incomers. There is nothing wrong. But you cannot just wake up one day and start boom. For example, if today you just wake up and start selling jets, or if today you wake up just start selling expensive gold watches and what have you, first of all, you need to build a clientele. You need to build the base. You need to at least understand all the cloth line business until you reach there, so that, you know, before you see this picture that you see it in front, there is a very big hard work behind that specific thing. And this is where most of the people don't get it right. So it is good to make sure that at least you understand all the background information before you're getting into this investment, okay? And if you're doing it just for fun because you're a billionaire or trillionaire or whatever the thing you are, it's okay, you can get into it. But if you're there to truly make money, first of all, you need to build even the relationship with the rich and wealthy people, or the high net income people. You have to have a connection, because these are not the people who can just come in and walk out and whatever. This is called destination. We call this kind of a business is, you see, there are two types of businesses. We have impulse buy business, and then we have predestined or destined or designated business. For example, impulse buy business, you cannot really think a lot when you're setting up, let's say, a popcorn business, when you're selling the popcorn. You just need to show up to a place where there is a food traffic, and then you set up your business. But when you're selling this luxury, you really have to choose a location and someone who is showing up to this particular point. You cannot just buy an expensive jewelry impulse buy. You cannot just be passing by the road and be like, how much is that? 10 million? Ah, fine, let me just get it. You cannot buy that way. So it's not an impulse buy. It's a thing that you need to take your time. You go to the place, you buy that. It's a thing that you've been planning. So therefore, location, connection with those people, and some of the people whom you sell to, they're the one that connects others to you or something also. And this is a question I'm going to ask you. Have you ever seen advertisements for these high-end cars like yachts in your TV? Have you ever seen like yacht being advertised, or maybe say Ferraris or Rolls Royce or those expensive whatever? You've never seen them actually advertising, and then you wonder how then do they make money? So there is a way they do that advertisement. There is that clientele that you build. I've seen people starting this business and suffering along the way when you actually start. And it doesn't have to be jewelry. It can be boutique, luxury boutique, when you're selling expensive things and you're just there. You know, you're just there, you know nobody, no rich. Sometimes it's not even you knowing somebody. It's actually somebody knowing you. That's the reality. You can know a very wealthy person, but do they know you? So you have to differentiate those two things, okay? And number 4 is none other than having what we call the general store. General store, you know, or shop, or grocery store, convenience store. In Kenya, we call it shop, or call it duka, whatever the thing you guys call it from your place. This is basically where you go buy your daily things, your wheat flour, you know, rice, your sugar, your whatever, those daily things that you usually go and buy each and every time. So this is kind of that business that almost everyone thinks about when you get some cash, you know, when you want to introduce yourself to the business. There is nothing wrong with this business, but one thing that you're supposed to expect is highly competition. Competition is very high on this business. That is the thing you're supposed to understand. The other thing, the profit margin is way low. By the way, I don't know whether you've realized this. We usually have like three categories of the businesses. We have the businesses that usually have a low profit margin because they have a lot of customers showing up. Like for you to make a good sum of money, then you have to deal with a huge influx of people. I have to repeat this. There is business category 1, we say they have a low profit margin, whereby, and then you have to, for example, when you're buying something at say $1, or let's say $10, you're selling at $11, so you're making a difference of $1, or maybe less than, sometimes even less than $1 out of that thing. So you need a lot of people buying that thing for you to realize a good chunk of cash. You get the thing? That's category 1. And mostly these are businesses that deals with food, these basic things that we really need them in life and all those kind of things. And then we go to the category 2 business. This is where they have a moderate profit margin, and also we have the moderate influx of the customers. This is when we deal with things like clothing, not luxury clothing, but just clothing. You know, clothings and such kind of things. These things that you know, we need them. We need them, but it's a thing that you can first of all ignore before you can ignore, and then first of all cater for the basic things before you move to the other one, okay? And then we have the category 3 classification of the business. This is where we say they have a high profit margin, and guess what happens? We have a low people showing up. For example, if you start like a car selling business, I mean, like if this is a door where it said they sell the cars, and this is a door where they deal with clothes. Obviously, the door where there are people selling clothing, you'll find more people getting in. If you are to count the number of people getting into where cars are being sold and there the clothing are being sold, you find there is a difference in terms of the number. But this dude from the car selling can actually sell even a single car in a month, and maybe like passes all these guys in terms of the profit and what have you. So the point is, you have to understand, like the hardware business, when you're selling like tractors, when you're selling, you get the thing. So you have to know the business that you're getting yourself into before committing that cash that you've saved. That you've saved for quite a long time. Now let's go to the worst business. The worst business, and now you guessed it right. Correct. Restaurant business. I'm telling you, this is the worst business that you can ever get yourself into, especially if you know nothing about it. This is that business that you can be very busy during the day. You know, orders are coming from, you know, from left and right and whatever the place. Hey, may I have what? May I have what? May I have what? May I have? You feel like, oh my goodness, I'm becoming a millionaire within a month. But then now you come at the evening when you're doing the balance sheet, you're comparing the cost of production, paying your suppliers, distributors, your workers, electricity, water. Boom, you got nothing on your hands. And then you're like, what the heck is going on? And then you're dealing with perishable goods. For example, let's say you have a standard in your restaurant. Some of the food, you cannot repeat them. Some of the food, maybe let's say you had cooked a lot of chapatis, or maybe you cooked a lot of fufus in that place, or cooked a lot of injera, or whatever the thing the Ethiopians do it. I love that thing. I forgot the name, by the way. I forgot that name. Things like look like a chapati or whatever. Okay, fine, so fine. Or the Kisla from the South Sudan and what have you. So the point is, you find like, let's say you've cooked that thing from the morning, nobody has showed up, it hasn't been eaten. Okay, I know you restaurant people usually keep that thing for the next day, but honestly speaking, you shouldn't do that. And you can imagine if you were to follow all the rules and regulation, the hygiene and what have you, and you discard all those, that means losses because you're dealing with perishable goods. You've cooked a very nice tea there. And I had a friend of mine who started a restaurant business. I'm telling you, it's very tough, especially when you cook, you cook a cinnamon tea, you have added a lot of spices in that tea. That tea cannot even barely survive for 3 hours or 5 hours without being, drink. But then you actually get yourself into a mess. So the thing is, restaurant, and I know there's somebody who is running a restaurant business, and they're like, okay, Joseph, I am wealthy because of that business. It's true. I'm not saying that these businesses cannot work. By the way, that should function as my disclaimer. I'm not saying that these businesses cannot work. But before you get into them, you have to understand there is a lot of work to be done, because otherwise, if you ignore all those kind of things, you can get yourself into lots of problems. So the thing is, people have become wealthy on businesses like a restaurant, what do you call the general shop, the luxury and whatever. What I'm just trying to say, especially when you're starting, you do not have anything, you can get yourself into problems. So the thing is, share it on the comment section. Have you ever started any of this business? How did they take you? And do you run this kind of business so far? How are they taking you? And if you're having a very rough time, share with me on the comment section. Let's see how we can be able to help each other. Anyway, by the way, that's mark the end of my good video. Go ahead and make sure that you subscribe, leave me a comment section, and make sure that you as well like the video, share it if you're in a position to. And don't forget, my number is always on the description of this specific video. If you would like to have a conversation with me, I'm open to that for just a cup of coffee spice. For now, it's a goodbye, and see you in the next one.